Welcome to Zoe Stories. He took the deal. Now he's living as a girl. I never thought a single choice could change my life forever. Yet, there I was, sitting on the edge of my bed, staring at the contract in front of me, knowing that signing it would seal my fate. My name is Alex, 24, working a mundane office job by day and hiding a secret life by night. A life that only I knew about until now. I had always been drawn to women's fashion. Not in some shallow fascination, but in a deep, visceral appreciation for the colors, textures, and the way clothes could transform a person. In private, I would sneak into boutiques, try on skirts and dresses when no one was watching, and marvel at how different I felt. Strong, yet vulnerable. Powerful, yet delicate. The thrill of slipping into silk and lace, painting my lips a bold red, and balancing on heels that made every movement a calculated art. It was intoxicating. And terrifying. The apartment I shared with my girlfriend, Mia, was cozy but efficient. Sunlight streamed through the wide living room windows in the morning, illuminating our mismatched furniture, the clutter of work papers, and the scattered makeup I kept hidden in the back of my closet. Mia had no idea about my secret. She was sharp, ambitious, beautiful, and often unpredictable. The thought of her discovering my hidden life filled me with equal parts fear and excitement. I loved her, yes, but the idea of being seen by her in that vulnerable, feminine state, it was a thought that kept me up at night. My job as an analyst at a corporate firm was dull, but steady. Numbers, graphs, and endless spreadsheets filled my days, leaving little room for personal expression. Ironically, it was that monotony that made my nighttime escapades into femininity feel even more liberating. Behind closed doors, I became someone else entirely. Someone bold, confident, and untouchable. But it was all temporary. Temporary until today. Today, the deal had been presented to me. A mysterious offer from someone I barely knew, but who seemed to understand me better than I understood myself. It was simple on paper. A chance to live fully as a girl, to immerse myself in a world I had only dared explore in secret. In exchange, I had to surrender certain freedoms, embrace the transformation completely, and live under rules that seemed almost frighteningly strict. There was no turning back once I signed. I ran my fingers over the paper. My hand trembled. I imagined the moment I would wake up tomorrow, feminine, dressed impeccably, every feature polished and perfected, a life fully immersed in this new reality. My heart raced at the thought. Excitement intertwined with dread, a cocktail I had never tasted before. It wasn't just the physical change, it was the emotional and psychological plunge into something I had only fantasized about. And the possibility of Mia discovering me like this, that was the true thrill and terror combined. The apartment felt smaller than usual, the walls closing in as I debated. My closet, filled with hidden dresses, heels, and makeup, suddenly seemed like a portal to another life. I touched a soft navy skirt I had tried on months ago, remembered how it had hugged my waist and swayed delicately with each step. How I had admired myself in the mirror, smiling shyly at a version of myself only I had ever seen. That version could become real. Entirely real. I glanced at Mia as she worked at her laptop on the sofa, oblivious to my inner turmoil. She looked so confident, so unbothered by life, while I wrestled with a decision that would shatter my old existence. Could she accept me like this? Would she love me more? Or would she run, horrified by what she didn't understand? The uncertainty gnawed at me, but it also ignited a spark of desire I couldn't ignore. I picked up the pen. The paper felt heavy in my hand, as if it carried the weight of my entire life. Signing it meant embracing a future where I would walk in heels, wear makeup flawlessly, and interact with the world as a girl. Every day, no escape. And yet, I wanted it. I wanted to see myself fully, completely, without shame, without hiding. I wanted to feel the thrill of being exposed, of living authentically in a body that had always felt right, if only secretly. The pen hovered over the signature line. My pulse thundered in my ears. I imagined waking up tomorrow, soft silk against my skin, A delicate dress hugging my curves, my hair styled perfectly, lips painted, eyes shimmering with eyeliner and mascara. I imagined stepping into the world, feeling every gaze, every whisper, every judgment and admiration like fire and wind against my skin. It was terrifying and exhilarating. I exhaled slowly and pressed the pen to the paper. The ink flowed, sealing my decision. There was no turning back. The deal was done. As I sat there, staring at the signed contract, a strange calm washed over me. Fear was still there, lurking, but it was now paired with anticipation, a thrilling sense of adventure that promised more than I had ever imagined. My hidden world was about to collide with reality. My secret life would no longer be just a fantasy whispered behind closed doors. It would be lived, breathed, seen. And I was ready. The morning light crept through the curtains, spilling softly across my bed. I blinked, disoriented, and for a moment, I couldn't remember who I was. Then it hit me, Alex was no longer just a name. Not anymore. Today, I would begin living as Elena, the persona I had dreamed about in secret, now real, now unavoidable. I swung my legs over the side of the bed and froze. My feet were bare, delicate, and different. Softer, lighter. I touched my calves and thighs, tracing the unfamiliar contours. Silk stockings lay neatly folded on the chair, waiting. My pulse quickened. This was it. The first step in stepping fully into a life I had only ever imagined in the quiet solitude of my apartment. The closet beckoned. Dresses, skirts, tops, and shoes I had only dared try in secret now awaited me, as though expecting my arrival. I opened the door slowly, taking in the colors and textures. Navy, pastel pinks, cream lace, black leather, every item a story of past fantasies, now poised to become reality. I hesitated before picking the first dress. It was a soft, form-fitting blouse with a high-waisted skirt, professional enough for the office, yet feminine enough to make me feel completely transformed. I shivered as I slipped it on, feeling the fabric hug my curves in a way that was almost shocking. A whisper of excitement coursed through me, paired with an undeniable fear. This was no longer a secret. I was Elena. Next came the shoes. High heels. The first time I'd ever worn a pair so deliberately. I lifted my foot, sliding it into the stiletto, and immediately wobbled. Balance was a challenge I had only toyed with in private, but now every misstep carried a small, thrilling panic. My muscles adjusted, and gradually I began to sway gracefully, each step reinforcing the identity I had chosen. The mirror was next. I stared into it, taking in the reflection. Elena looked back at me, hair perfectly styled, lips lightly painted, eyes shimmering with mascara and eyeliner. I touched my face, tracing the delicate jawline, the soft curves, and for the first time, I felt a sense of completeness. The reflection was both familiar and foreign, a version of me I could never have imagined fully embracing, yet here I was. My mind raced.
Mia.
What would she think? Would she laugh? Cry?
Reject me?
The thought of her discovering me like this sent a wave of panic through my chest, yet beneath it, a thrill sparked. The fear of exposure mixed with the excitement of revelation, a cocktail I had never experienced before. I practiced walking, adjusting my posture, tilting my hips slightly. Elena moved differently than Alex had. She was fluid, deliberate, and aware of every curve and motion. The sensation was intoxicating. My heart raced as I adjusted the blouse and smoothed my skirt, feeling the final pieces of transformation fall into place. But the real challenge awaited. Stepping outside this room. Stepping into the world, even if just the apartment itself. I had always hidden. Never dared to move beyond whispers and shadows. Now, every corner of my home became a stage. Every sound, the creak of the floor, the hum of the refrigerator, reminded me that I was exposed, vulnerable, yet gloriously alive. I moved toward the living room, each step a testament to my courage. The sound of heels clicking against the hardwood floor was a rhythm of transformation, echoing through the apartment like a heartbeat of someone new. I paused in front of the sofa, where Mia usually worked, and froze. She wasn't there yet. There was still time to retreat, to hide, to revert. But I didn't. I couldn't. Instead, I took a deep breath and explored my surroundings as Elena. Every object felt different, reframed by my new perspective. The cozy living room, the scattered papers, the soft rug. Each familiar item now seemed like part of a stage set, highlighting the debut of a life that was mine to claim. I approached the mirror again, practicing expressions. A small smile, a playful tilt of the head. Confidence, feigned or real, it didn't matter. Each gesture cemented Elena's presence within me, blending the thrill of secrecy with the danger of potential discovery. Suddenly, the sound of keys in the door jolted me. Panic surged. Mia was home earlier than expected. My pulse thundered as I wobbled on my heels, adjusting my skirt nervously. I ducked behind the sofa, barely breathing, praying she wouldn't notice my absence or the subtle new femininity in my posture. Mia entered, humming softly. "Alex," she called, pausing as her gaze swept the room. Her eyes lingered on me, not with suspicion, not with recognition, but curiosity. The adrenaline surged through me, every nerve alive. I emerged from hiding, gliding toward her with as much confidence as I could muster. "Hey," I said, voice slightly higher than usual, smooth but unmistakably different. Her eyes widened, and she froze for a moment. "Alex, you look different." The words hit me like fire. Different. Not wrong, not bad, but unmistakably altered. I smiled nervously, twisting my hands in front of me. I thought I'd try something new." Her expression softened into a smile. "It's bold." Bold. That word, casual and simple, sent a shiver of triumph and fear through me. Bold meant noticed. Bold meant different. Bold meant exposed. And I was ready for it. The thrill of living as Elena had only just begun. Each movement, each glance, each breath carried the weight of a secret revealed and a life transformed. And deep down, despite the fear, I knew I would never want to go back. The day stretched on, each minute heavier than the last, yet brimming with possibilities. I moved through the apartment as Elena, every step a negotiation between fear and exhilaration. The thrill of the heels beneath me, the delicate sway of the skirt, and the faint fragrance of perfume I'd never dared wear openly created a heady mix of liberation and tension. Mia had stepped out briefly for errands, leaving me alone with the house and my thoughts. Normally, solitude meant comfort, but now it was a pressure cooker. Alone, I could push the boundaries of this new identity without interruption, yet the awareness that she could return at any moment made each movement deliberate, each glance toward the clock a pulse of suspense. I wandered into the bedroom again, drawn to the mirror as if it were a portal into a world I could finally inhabit. Elena's reflection stared back, eyes wide with unpracticed confidence, hands smoothing the skirt and adjusting the blouse. I touched the contours of my face, tracing the lines made softer by subtle makeup. The blush on my cheeks, the faint shimmer on my eyelids, each stroke a brush of identity that Alex had never dared fully embrace. The sensation was intoxicating, yet fragile. I caught myself holding my breath, imagining Mia walking through the door. Would she laugh? Scold me? Or, God forbid, reject me entirely? The thought made my chest tighten, and yet, beneath the fear, excitement simmered. The possibility of being seen, fully, in this state, thrilled me more than I had expected. I moved to the closet again, seeking another layer of transformation. A sleek, black dress caught my eye, tailored to accentuate curves in a way that made me hesitate. Picking it up, I felt a twinge of vulnerability. This dress was bold, impossible to hide under the guise of casual experimentation. Yet it called to me, daring me to step further, daring me to claim this life as my own. I slipped into it slowly, the fabric hugging every contour. My heart raced as I stood before the mirror again, adjusting the hem, smoothing a crease. The reflection staring back was unmistakably feminine, undeniably Elena. The thrill of recognition mingled with the trepidation of exposure. Each glance at the mirror reinforced a truth I had long denied. I could not hide from this part of myself anymore. Suddenly, a noise from the living room made me jump, a faint thump, as though something had fallen. My pulse quickened, adrenaline surging. I tiptoed toward the sound, the heels clicking softly against the floor. A book had tumbled from the shelf. Relief washed over me, quickly replaced by a rush of audacity. Alone, I could explore more, perhaps even practice walking, speaking, and moving as Elena without restraint. I stepped into the living room, adjusting my posture. Each sway of my hips felt deliberate, every step a performance I was learning to inhabit. The thrill of self-expression, previously confined to whispers behind closed doors, now surged like electricity through me. The mirror reflected not just my form, but my transformation, the merging of fear and desire, secrecy and liberation. Time passed unnoticed. I experimented with different postures, gestures, and expressions, slipping deeper into the persona of Elena. Each adjustment of hair, each tilt of the head, each subtle movement of the shoulders reinforced the thrill and the anxiety. I felt more alive than ever, yet the shadow of discovery hung over me, a constant reminder that exposure could happen at any second. I caught a glimpse of a pair of heels I hadn't dared wear before, sky-high, impossibly thin, yet seductive in their power. Kneeling to slip them on, I felt a wave of exhilaration mixed with fear. Walking in them was a precarious dance, each step a balancing act between grace and potential disaster. Yet with every step, I felt myself embracing Elena more fully. Confidence grew in tandem with vulnerability, a delicate dance that left my heart racing. Hours slipped by. The apartment was silent except for the subtle hum of the air conditioner and the soft clicking of my heels. I imagined Mia returning, the moment when she would see me fully transformed for the first time. My imagination ran wild. Admiration, shock, confusion. Every possibility sent shivers down my spine, a mix of fear and desire that was almost unbearable. Then, a sudden idea struck me. I could record a short video of myself as Elena, a way to explore this identity further and perhaps gauge Mia's reaction without immediate confrontation. My hands trembled as I set up my phone, adjusting angles and lighting. Speaking in Elena's voice was surreal, yet each word strengthened the persona, cementing the transformation in a way nothing else could. "Hi, I'm Elena," I whispered into the camera, voice higher, softer, more deliberate. "This is me, really me." Watching the playback, I saw a woman staring back at me. Confident, playful, vulnerable. The thrill was intoxicating, yet the tension of secrecy remained. I imagined Mia watching this the moment she realized the extent of the transformation. Panic surged, but beneath it, a profound exhilaration. I had never felt so alive, so complete, so daring. The knock at the door startled me, heart leaping into my throat. Mia. The sound of her key in the lock. I froze, breath shallow, hands clutching the hem of my dress. This was it, the first real test. Would she discover Elena today? Would she see through the layers I had built, the transformation I had embraced so fully? The door opened. Mia stepped in, her eyes scanning the room. They lingered on me, taking in the dress, the posture, the subtle makeup. Silence hung thick between us, a palpable tension that made my skin prickle. She smiled faintly, a mixture of curiosity and amusement. "You've changed," she said softly. The words hit me like a lightning bolt. Changed. Not wrong, not strange, just changed. The validation, the recognition, the suspense of potential acceptance and rejection all collided within me. I smiled nervously, unsure whether to speak, to explain, or to retreat. She tilted her head, eyes lingering on my reflection in the nearby mirror. "I don't even know what to say. But you look different. But good. Bold. Bold." Again. That word, simple yet loaded, filled me with a heady mix of fear and pride. Bold meant being noticed. Bold meant exposed. Bold meant Elena. I swallowed hard, feeling the thrill and tension coiling inside me like a spring. Today was only the beginning. Every glance, every word, every step was a test of courage, desire, and the delicate balance between fear and exhilaration. And as I looked into Mia's eyes, I knew one thing: the real challenge had only just begun. The apartment felt different now, alive with anticipation. Every shadow, every reflection, every sound reminded me that I was no longer just Alex. I was Elena, a new identity pulsating through me with every breath. The thrill of transformation had worn off its initial novelty. Now it was an undercurrent in everything I did, a quiet but insistent reminder that nothing would ever be the same. I wandered through the living room, adjusting the skirt and smoothing the blouse once more. The heels pinched, but the discomfort was overshadowed by exhilaration. I imagined stepping outside, even briefly, just to feel the world as Elena. The thought sent shivers down my spine. Public exposure was terrifying, yet undeniably enticing. Every gaze, imagined or real, promised validation, danger, and the intoxicating blend of fear and excitement I had craved. Mia had gone to the kitchen, humming softly as she made tea. Her presence nearby, even in silence, made every movement heavier. Each step I took, each sway of my hips, carried the weight of scrutiny. My hands trembled slightly as I adjusted my hair, making sure every strand fell perfectly. I could feel the fabric of the dress against my skin, the delicate lace brushing my collarbone. It was exquisite and suffocating. Alone in the bedroom, I dared to explore further. Shoes, accessories, jewelry. Every element of Elena's persona was a potential revelation, a calculated risk. I slipped into another pair of heels, slightly higher this time, testing my balance. Each step was a lesson in precision and poise, a challenge to my former identity. The mirror reflected a woman I had never fully known, yet one I had always desired to become. I experimented with gestures, tilting my head, arching an eyebrow, letting my smile flirt with mischief. Elena was playful, confident, and teasing, a stark contrast to the reserved, cautious Alex who had tiptoed through life, hiding desires and secrets. The duality of identities was dizzying. I loved it. I feared it. I couldn't stop. A sudden noise made me jump. A magazine had fallen from the table in the living room. My heart pounded, adrenaline spiking. Mia was still there, though her back was turned, her focus on the tea. Relief mingled with daring. I took a few cautious steps closer to the sofa, testing my composure. Could I maintain Elena under scrutiny? Could I sustain this persona when even a minor sound threatened to expose me? I paused, taking a deep breath, and felt a rush of self-awareness. The transformation was no longer just physical. My mind had shifted too. Thoughts flowed differently, priorities shifted, even the cadence of my speech altered subtly. Elena wasn't just a costume or a temporary escape. She was becoming real, tangible, undeniable. Curiosity tugged at me. I could feel the itch to explore further, to see how far I could push this identity without being caught. I tiptoed into the kitchen, deliberately moving as Elena would, graceful, aware, feminine. The way I reached for a cup, the tilt of my shoulders, even the faint sway of my hips, all felt like subtle affirmations of a new existence. Mia looked at me, her expression unreadable. "You're different," she said again, softer this time, as if trying the word out, tasting its meaning. "But I like it. It suits you." The praise sent a thrill coursing through me. Validation, acceptance, and danger mingled into a cocktail I had never imagined. Her words were encouragement. Yes, but they also carried the weight of exposure. Every glance, every sigh, every subtle movement was a test. Could I sustain Elena under real scrutiny? Could I thrive without collapsing under the pressure of revelation? I retreated to the bedroom, eager for solitude, but unable to resist the urge to push further. Makeup, accessories, hairstyle. Each element became more daring, more experimental. I tried a bold lipstick, darker than anything I had ever dared. The reflection was shocking, intoxicating. Elena's eyes shimmered, lips painted in deep red, cheeks flushed with blush. I was no longer Alex. I was someone new, someone entirely free, yet painfully exposed. A sudden thought struck me. What if Mia left the apartment for a few hours? The temptation to explore even more aggressively, to wear something daring, to record videos, or even step outside briefly, became irresistible. My pulse quickened. Risk and reward collided in my mind. I could feel the thrill of danger as vividly as the fabric against my skin. I imagined stepping onto the balcony, the world beyond the apartment staring back, unseen yet present. Elena walking, moving, living, unbound by fear. The image thrilled me, terrified me, and ignited a desire that was impossible to ignore. Could I truly live as Elena in the open? Could I embrace this identity fully without hiding, without retreating? The clock ticked loudly. Minutes stretched into eternity. Every sound from the hallway, every footstep outside, made me freeze. I was hyper-aware of everything, yet exhilarated by the tension. Elena wasn't just a persona anymore. She was alive, hungry, insistent. And then my phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. Are you ready to step further? The real test begins tonight. I froze. The thrill, the fear, the anticipation collided in a surge of adrenaline. Tonight? A test? What did it mean? Who was watching? The unknown, the suspense, the possibility of exposure. It all became irresistible. I felt a rush of determination, daring myself to embrace every risk, every thrill. Elena wasn't going to hide. Not anymore. I took a deep breath, standing tall in the mirror. The reflection staring back at me was no longer hesitant, uncertain, or fragile. Elena's eyes burned with resolve, her lips curved in a mischievous yet confident smile. The transformation was more than skin deep. It was a declaration, a challenge, a promise. The suspense hung thick in the apartment. Every shadow, every sound, every thought was charged with anticipation. I was ready, or at least I told myself I was. Tonight, Elena would face the first real trial of living as herself. And I had no idea what it would bring. The message from the unknown number lingered in my mind like a whisper of danger. Are you ready to step further? The real test begins tonight. My pulse raced, fingers trembling as I stared at the screen. I didn't know who it was or how they knew about me, but every nerve in my body electrified at the thought of the challenge. Elena wasn't just an experiment anymore. She was a living, breathing entity demanding action, daring me to prove myself. The apartment seemed quieter than usual. The subtle hum of the refrigerator, the occasional creak of the floorboards, even the distant sounds of traffic outside, felt amplified. Every sound was a potential herald of discovery, every shadow a looming threat. Yet beneath the anxiety, an undeniable thrill surged. Elena's world was alive with suspense, danger, and forbidden delight. I moved to the bedroom, drawn to the closet where the most daring outfits waited. Tonight wasn't just about comfort or casual experimentation. It was about proving that I could fully inhabit Elena, take risks, and face the world, even if only in small, controlled ways. I slid a dress from the rack, its fabric delicate and daring, designed to hug curves and draw attention. The feel of it against my skin sent shivers through me. The heels that accompanied the dress were taller than anything I had attempted before. Kneeling to slip them on, I felt a twinge of fear. Every step could be a stumble, every movement a potential exposure. But fear was part of the thrill now. It sharpened my senses, heightened my awareness, and made every small success exhilarating. I rose slowly, balancing carefully, letting the heels guide my posture, letting Elena inhabit the space fully. The mirror reflected a woman I barely recognized, but desperately wanted to become. Her eyes were sharp, playful, alive. Her lips curved in a confident, mischievous smile. Elena wasn't shy, hesitant, or cautious. She was daring, audacious, ready for the challenge. And tonight, she would face it. I heard the faintest shuffle from the living room.
Mia?
My heart skipped a beat. But no, it was only the wind rattling a window. Relief washed over me, quickly replaced by an audacious curiosity. Could I push further, explore more of this identity, even in the small confines of the apartment? Could I flirt with danger without letting it consume me? I moved slowly toward the living room, heels clicking deliberately on the floor. Each step was a test, a negotiation between grace and exposure, confidence and fear. Elena moved differently than Alex had, fluid, deliberate, aware of every curve, every motion. The transformation wasn't just physical, it was psychological. Every gesture, every tilt of the head, every sway of the hips reinforced the persona I had chosen. The thrill of potential discovery was intoxicating. I imagined Mia walking in, seeing me fully transformed, every detail polished, every feature unmistakably feminine. Would she laugh? Cry? Be impressed? Or would she recoil, horrified by what she didn't understand? The questions were dizzying, yet they made each movement more exhilarating, each breath more electric. Curiosity drove me further. I picked up a small camera, setting it up to capture my reflection. Tonight wasn't just about appearance, it was about performance, presence, claiming space as Elena. Speaking into the camera, I tested my voice, letting it rise slightly higher, softer, more deliberate. Each word was a reinforcement, a declaration that Elena was real, alive, undeniable. I glanced at the clock. Minutes stretched into hours. The suspense was tangible, thick in the air. Every noise, the refrigerator hum, the faint creak of floorboards, the distant murmur of cars, amplified my awareness. I was hyper-aware, alert, alive in a way Alex had never been. Elena thrived in tension, in the fine line between exposure and control. A sudden knock at the door made my heart leap. Panic surged.
Mia?
Or someone else? I froze, the heels under me precarious, the dress clinging, the makeup immaculate but fragile under the pressure of suspense. I tiptoed toward the door, mind racing, pulse hammering. When I opened it, no one was there. Only a small envelope slid under the door. My hands shook as I picked it up. Inside, a note in neat handwriting read, "Tonight is your first real test. Embrace Elena fully. Do not hesitate." The words sent a thrill coursing through me. Someone knew. Someone was watching. And yet, the fear didn't dominate. It fueled me, sharpened my senses, heightened my awareness. The test wasn't just about appearance. It was about daring, courage, and living Elena without restraint. I paced the apartment, testing movements, expressions, and gestures. Elena was no longer a private secret. She was a force, demanding attention, commanding presence. The adrenaline and fear coiled in my stomach, a thrilling tension that made every movement electric. I imagined stepping outside, even briefly, feeling the world as Elena, letting strangers' eyes brush against me, feeling the thrill of potential exposure. My imagination raced with scenarios, a neighbor passing, a delivery person stopping at the door, Mia returning unexpectedly. Each imagined scenario made my heart pound, yet the desire to embrace the risk was irresistible. Finally, I paused in front of the mirror. Elena stared back, confident, audacious, alive. The dress clung perfectly. The heels gave her height and poise. The makeup highlighted every feature. Every element of the persona was polished, deliberate. I had crossed the line from fantasy into reality, from secret indulgence into full immersion. Tonight, the real test would begin. The suspense, the danger, the thrill of exposure, it all converged into a singular point of anticipation. I was ready to step further, to risk, to embrace Elena fully. And in that moment, I knew that nothing would ever be the same. The apartment was quiet, the night thick around me. Yet within me, a storm of excitement, fear, and audacious desire raged. Elena was alive. Elena was unstoppable. And the test, whatever it was just beginning. Night had fallen completely. The apartment was bathed in the soft glow of lamps, casting long, dramatic shadows across the walls. Every corner seemed alive with possibility and danger. I moved carefully, deliberately, each step in my heels a testament to Elena's growing presence. The thrill of transformation had evolved into something far more potent, a pulse of adrenaline, fear, and exhilaration that made every movement feel electrified. The envelope from earlier still sat on the coffee table. The note inside burned into my mind. Tonight is your first real test. Embrace Elena fully. Do not hesitate. I couldn't stop thinking about who had sent it, or what exactly this test entailed. Yet the uncertainty only fueled the thrill. Elena was no longer a secret experiment. She was a persona demanding action, daring me to embrace every risk, every thrill. I paced the apartment, testing gestures, expressions, and stances. Elena had grown in confidence, every sway of her hips, every tilt of her head deliberate and commanding. The reflection in the mirror was now undeniably hers, poised, audacious, confident, yet vulnerable in ways that Alex never was. Each glance, each practiced smile, reinforced the persona and solidified the transformation. But with confidence came fear. The apartment, once familiar and safe, now felt like a stage set for exposure. Every shadow could be an observer, every creak of the floor a herald of discovery. The adrenaline surged through me, a double-edged sword that sharpened my senses but tightened my chest. Elena thrived on danger, yet I couldn't ignore the nagging anxiety that at any moment, everything could collapse. I moved toward the bedroom, drawn to the wardrobe one last time before the test began. Tonight wasn't about comfort. It was about proving that Elena could exist fully, boldly, without hesitation. I chose the boldest outfit I owned, a sleek, form-fitting dress that highlighted every curve, paired with stiletto heels taller than I had ever attempted. Kneeling to slip into them, I felt a twinge of fear and excitement. Every step in these heels would be a challenge, a dance between balance and grace. The mirror reflected a woman transformed. Elena's eyes shone with determination, lips painted boldly, hair cascading perfectly over her shoulders. She was audacious, confident, and unmistakably alive. I ran my fingers along my jawline, tracing the contours that had once belonged to Alex. The touch felt foreign and exhilarating, a tangible reminder of the transformation that had begun in whispers and now roared into life. The apartment seemed to hold its breath with me. I tiptoed toward the living room, each click of the heels echoing like a heartbeat. Every shadow seemed to watch, every sound amplified. I imagined Mia returning, stepping through the door, eyes widening in surprise or shock. Would she embrace Elena, or recoil from what she didn't understand? The uncertainty made my pulse pound, my stomach twist, and yet the thrill was undeniable. I caught myself laughing softly, a high, melodic sound that felt alien on my own lips. Elena's voice was playful, audacious, alive. I experimented with expressions, a wink, a tilt of the head, a flirtatious smile, each one reinforcing the persona that had taken root within me. Alex's hesitancy had vanished, replaced by a daring audacity I had never known I possessed. The envelope's message echoed in my mind. Embrace Elena fully. Do not hesitate. I had done so in small ways, cautiously, tentatively. But tonight demanded complete surrender. The thrill of potential exposure, of risk, of the unknown, pulsed through me like electricity. Elena wasn't just a costume or a secret indulgence anymore. She was a force, demanding recognition and daring me to live fully. Suddenly, the sound of a soft knock at the door jolted me. My heart leapt into my throat.
Mia?
Or someone else. Panic surged through me, heels precarious, balance delicate. I tiptoed toward the door, trembling with anticipation. Carefully, I opened it, and a familiar figure stood there, not threatening, not accusatory, but watching, waiting. The figure handed me a small box, no words spoken. My fingers shook as I took it, curiosity and trepidation mingling. Inside, delicate accessories, jewelry, a silk scarf, gloves, each piece more audacious than the last. A note accompanied them. Use them wisely. Tonight, Elena must shine. The instructions were simple, yet the implications profound. Tonight wasn't about hiding, experimenting, or hesitation. Tonight was about embracing risk, daring, and transformation fully. The adrenaline surged through me, fear mixing with exhilaration in a way that left my chest tight and my heart racing. I dressed with meticulous care, adding each accessory, adjusting every strand of hair, smoothing every fold of fabric. Elena's presence grew stronger with each deliberate motion, until the reflection staring back at me was fully formed, undeniable, audacious. I took a deep breath, feeling the power of this persona in my posture, my movement, my gaze. The apartment seemed alive, a stage set for the first real test. Shadows loomed, whispers of imagination hinted at observers, and every sound of the night became charged with suspense. Yet within me, exhilaration surged. Elena was ready, poised, confident, alive. And as I stood there, heels clicking softly against the floor, hands brushing delicately over the silk of the dress, I realized that the true transformation was complete. Alex had faded into memory, and Elena had emerged fully, audaciously, ready to face whatever the night and the test would bring. The suspense hung thick in the air, almost tangible. My reflection smiled, daring me to take the next step. And I knew that nothing would ever be the same again. Tonight, everything would change. The apartment felt like a stage, every shadow, every flicker of light charged with anticipation. Elena stood poised in the center, heels clicking softly, silk brushing against her legs with each careful movement. The thrill of the unknown had never felt so potent. The mysterious messages, the daring outfit, the accessories that screamed audacious confidence, it all led to this moment. The first real test was about to begin. A knock at the door sent a jolt of adrenaline through me. I froze, breath caught in my chest, heart pounding like a drum.
Was it Mia?
Or someone else? The envelope, the box of accessories, the cryptic messages, they all hinted that I wasn't alone, that someone was watching, orchestrating this challenge. The idea made my pulse race and my stomach twist with equal parts fear and excitement. I tiptoed toward the door, balancing carefully in my stilettos. Every step was a negotiation between grace and anxiety. I reached for the handle, hesitating just a moment before turning the knob. Standing there was a tall, unfamiliar figure, silhouette framed by the dim hallway light. Their presence was commanding yet ambiguous, a stranger, yet somehow knowing me intimately. "Are you ready?" the voice asked, low, deliberate, impossible to ignore. I nodded, unable to speak. The words caught in my throat, replaced by the electric rush of tension. The stranger handed me a small envelope, no words, just an expectant glance. Inside, another note. "Follow the instructions. Elena must shine. Your first challenge begins now." My hands shook as I opened the note. It detailed a simple, yet terrifying task: leave the apartment for a brief moment, step into the world fully as Elena, and return without being noticed. Simple in theory, monumental in risk. The adrenaline surged. Elena wasn't just an experiment anymore. She was alive, daring, and demanding that I prove her existence in public. I dressed quickly, checking every detail in the mirror. The silk scarf draped elegantly over my shoulders, gloves fitted snugly on my hands, heels higher than I had dared before. Each accessory was a test, a deliberate challenge to my balance, composure, and confidence. Elena's reflection stared back at me, audacious, daring, fully formed, alive. The hallway outside was dim, quiet, yet charged with suspense. I stepped onto the street, each heel clicking against the pavement like a drumbeat announcing my arrival. Every passerby was a potential observer, every glance a threat or an affirmation. The thrill of exposure surged through me, mingling with fear and exhilaration. I felt completely exposed, yet alive in a way Alex never had been. A car passed by slowly, headlights glinting off the pavement. I froze, pretending to adjust my scarf, heart racing. The briefest second of perceived attention felt like an eternity, but I survived, steadying my breath, reminding myself that Elena had to shine. Confidence coiled in my chest, pushing aside fear just enough to keep moving forward. I arrived at the small cafe at the corner, part of the instructions. Entering, I could feel the weight of attention, the thrill of daring eyes brushing past me. The patrons were unaware, yet their subtle glances and murmurs fed the suspense. Every step, every gesture, every tilt of the head was deliberate, a performance of Elena, unafraid, daring, radiant. The stranger from earlier appeared at the table inside the cafe, silent, watching, taking notes. My stomach twisted in nervous excitement. Was this a test of appearance, movement, or composure? Could I maintain Elena's persona under scrutiny from someone who knew every secret, every hesitation? I sat, adjusting posture, glancing at my reflection in the darkened window. Elena was alive, bold, undeniable. Yet the fear of discovery lingered, whispering that one wrong move could unravel everything. The tension coiled, building towards something inevitable, something intense. Minutes stretched, each heartbeat amplified. I spoke softly, letting Elena's voice carry confidence and charm. The stranger nodded, a subtle acknowledgement, then left without a word. I exhaled, a mixture of relief and exhilaration washing over me. I had survived the first public test. Yet the real challenge was just beginning. The streets outside, the potential return of Mia, the unknown dangers of the night. As I stepped back onto the pavement, heels clicking decisively, I realized that the thrill of transformation wasn't just in clothes or makeup. It was in daring to exist fully, to be seen, to challenge fear, and embrace audacity. Elena was no longer a secret. She was alive, thriving, and unstoppable, at least for now. The night air wrapped around me as I left the cafe, heels clicking sharply against the wet pavement. Every sound felt magnified, every shadow, a potential observer. The city seemed alive, watching, judging. Elena walked with confidence, yet my heart pounded with the tension of exposure. One misstep, one glance too long, and the illusion could shatter. The stranger's instructions replayed in my mind. Elena must shine. Do not hesitate. Simple words, but loaded with consequence. I knew I had to move boldly, own every step, and embrace risk fully. The thrill and fear coiled together in my chest, making every movement both exhilarating and terrifying. A group of people approached from the opposite side of the street. Their laughter carried, unaware, casual. Yet my pulse raced. What if one of them recognized me? The thought made my stomach twist, but I forced a smile, tilting my head ever so slightly, letting Elena's confidence radiate outward. The tallest figure in the group glanced in my direction, briefly meeting my eyes. A shiver ran through me. I couldn't tell if it was curiosity, recognition, or mere coincidence. I took a deep breath, walking past them slowly, each step deliberate, every motion controlled. Elena wasn't just walking, she was performing, daring, existing fully in a world that might reject her at any moment. Turning down a narrow side street, I felt a surge of adrenaline. The unfamiliar path heightened the suspense, the potential for discovery, the risk of missteps. A cat darted across my path, scattering a trash bin with a loud clatter. I froze, heels precarious, breath caught. Then, a passerby laughed and shook their head, dismissing the noise as ordinary. Relief washed over me, mingling with the exhilaration of surviving another tense moment. I glanced at my reflection in the shop windows lining the street. Elena stared back, radiant, poised, audacious. Every accessory, every detail of the outfit, every subtle movement of her body reinforced her existence. Yet behind the reflection, a whisper of fear remained. What if Mia returned early? What if someone I knew saw me? The stakes were higher than ever, and the night was far from over. Ahead, a small park opened, its lamplit paths casting long, dramatic shadows. The stranger's next instruction was clear. Enter the park, find a bench marked with a small red ribbon, and wait. The risk was immediate and palpable. The park was public, visibility high, and potential observers everywhere. Yet the thrill surged through me, a heady cocktail of fear and exhilaration. Elena didn't hesitate. I stepped into the park, heels clicking, dress swaying, scarf fluttering. Each movement was deliberate, controlled, graceful. The shadows seemed to watch, the wind whispered, and the distant sound of a dog barking made my pulse spike. I reached the marked bench and sat, hands clasped delicately in my lap, trying to look natural while every nerve screamed awareness. Minutes stretched, each second heavy with anticipation. I imagined the possibilities. A neighbor walking by, someone taking a late-night stroll, Mia arriving unexpectedly. The risk was intoxicating. Elena's heart raced, yet her posture remained poised. This wasn't just survival, it was mastery, daring, performance. Suddenly, a voice called from the shadows. "You're doing well." The stranger emerged, almost silently, eyes sharp, measuring. My stomach twisted in a mixture of fear and relief. Recognition, validation, judgment, all wrapped into one. They approached, placing a small object on the bench beside me. A delicate compact mirror, adorned with a tiny red ribbon matching the bench marker. "Open it," they said softly. Hands trembling, I lifted the compact. Inside was a note. "The final part of the test begins. One mistake, one hesitation, and Elena's existence may be revealed. Are you ready?" My breath caught. The stakes had escalated. Every choice from this point forward could determine whether I survived the night as Elena or whether everything would crumble. The thrill surged, sharp and electric. Elena's audacity surged within me. I rose from the bench, clutching the compact, heels steady despite the tension coiling in my stomach. The path ahead was dark, the potential for exposure real, yet I moved with deliberate poise. Each step was a declaration. I was Elena, audacious, bold, and alive. The night was mine to navigate, to conquer, to claim. As I moved forward, the city seemed to pulse with suspense. Every shadow, every distant laugh, every streetlight was a participant in the challenge. Elena's presence was undeniable, every motion a performance of confidence, audacity, and daring. And yet, the danger lurked close, invisible but palpable, threatening to undo everything I had risked. Then a sudden noise, a footstep, deliberate, echoing, made me freeze. My pulse raced, heart hammering in my chest. The suspense tightened around me, like a vice. The stranger's voice whispered in my memory. One mistake, one hesitation. The night had become a test of nerve, of identity, of courage. Elena's transformation was complete, yet the real trial, the true challenge of being seen, daring, and unbroken, was just beginning. And I knew, with every fiber of my being, that one wrong move could unravel everything I had become. The footsteps behind me echoed like thunder in the quiet park, each one sending a shiver down my spine. My grip tightened on the compact mirror, every instinct screaming that discovery was near. Elena's heels clicked sharply against the paved path, deliberate and bold, but my heart pounded with every step. The stranger's words replayed in my mind. One mistake, one hesitation. I rounded a corner, the dim streetlights casting long shadows that danced across the ground. Every figure, every moving shape could be someone recognizing me, someone ready to expose the secret I had cultivated so carefully. Yet Elena moved with purpose, audacious and unafraid, a stark contrast to the anxious pulse racing beneath the surface. A sudden rustle in the bushes made me freeze. My breath caught. For a fleeting moment, panic threatened to overtake me. But Elena's presence forced me to steady myself. Each step forward was a careful negotiation between fear and composure. I had to keep moving, to show confidence, even as adrenaline screamed warnings. As I approached a small bridge over a trickling stream, a figure stepped into the light. It was a woman, sharply dressed, eyes narrowing as she took in my form. My chest tightened. Recognition? Judgment? Curiosity? All at once? "Excuse me," she said, her tone measured but commanding. "Are you Alex?" My stomach dropped. Elena's audacity faltered for a heartbeat, but I forced a smile, letting her see only the persona I had so carefully crafted. "No," I said softly, voice deliberately higher, lighter. "I think you must be mistaken." The woman's gaze lingered, scrutinizing, yet eventually she nodded and moved past. Relief flooded me, mixing with exhilaration. One close call survived, but the night was far from over. Every shadow, every passerby, every unexpected encounter was a potential hazard, and I could feel the tension coiling tighter with each step. The path led me deeper into the park, toward a clearing where the stranger had instructed me to stop. The red ribbon glimmered faintly in the lamplight, marking the next checkpoint. I approached cautiously, heels steady despite the tension. Every sound, the rustling leaves, the distant footsteps, the hum of traffic, amplified my awareness. Elena thrived in this liminal space between fear and exhilaration, and I leaned into it, letting her confidence guide each deliberate motion. At the center of the clearing, a small pedestal awaited, draped with a velvet cloth. I approached, hands trembling slightly, and lifted the fabric. Beneath it lay a single, small object, a delicate key with an intricate design. A note was attached. "Use it wisely. One choice now will define the next step of your transformation. Hesitate and risk everything." My pulse raced. The key was symbolic, yes, but also a literal representation of choice, a test of courage, of audacity, of fully embracing Elena. Could I take the next step, move beyond fear and hesitation, and claim what this night demanded? Or would doubt pull me back, leaving me half-formed, trapped between Alex and Elena? I lifted the key, turning it over in my hands. The cool metal sent a shiver through me, grounding me even as tension coiled tighter. Elena's presence surged forward, bold and commanding, reminding me that hesitation was not an option. Each heartbeat reinforced the transformation, no longer a private experiment, no longer a secret indulgence. Elena was alive, audacious, undeniable. Then the unexpected happened. A sudden shout rang from the edge of the clearing. "Elena? Is that you?" My chest tightened, breath catching. Mia's voice. Heart hammering, I froze, every instinct screaming danger. Elena's poise wavered for a heartbeat, but the training, the practice, the daring risk surged forward. I lifted my chin, straightened my posture, and faced the sound of recognition. From the shadows, Mia stepped forward, eyes wide with confusion and disbelief. "Alex? Or Elena? What's going on?" The suspense was palpable. Every second stretched, heavy with the possibility of exposure, revelation, and confrontation. Elena's entire identity hung in the balance, poised on the edge of a precipice. The thrill, the fear, the audacity, it all converged in a single, tense moment. I raised the key, a deliberate motion, a statement. "Tonight, I'm Elena, and I'm not hiding anymore." Mia's expression flickered between shock, confusion, and a strange spark of curiosity. The suspense hung thick, a tangible weight pressing down, leaving everything unresolved yet charged with anticipation. The night, the test, the transformation, it wasn't over. Not yet. Mia stood frozen, eyes wide, processing what she was seeing. The silence between us was deafening, every second stretching longer, laden with anticipation. My heels clicked softly against the pavement as I shifted my weight, deliberately maintaining Elena's poise. The thrill of exposure surged through me, mingled with the raw fear of being discovered. "Alex, or Elena, I don't understand," Mia finally whispered, her voice shaking slightly. Why?" I took a slow, deliberate breath, letting the weight of the moment settle. Elena wasn't just a name, a persona, or a costume. She was alive. real. And tonight, the transformation had reached its apex. I stepped closer, letting the wind play with my hair, every movement deliberate, controlled, confident. I took the deal, I said softly, voice lighter, melodic, Elena's voice. And now, I'm living as her. Fully. No hiding. Mia blinked, confusion warring with something else. Curiosity, perhaps a flicker of intrigue. I could see her mind racing, questioning, yet unable to deny the undeniable presence before her. Elena wasn't fragile or hesitant anymore. She was audacious, bold, alive in a way Alex never had been. The compact key glinted in my hand, a symbol of choice, courage, and transformation. I held it out slightly, a deliberate gesture. This is part of it. The test, the transformation. Tonight, I had to embrace her fully. Every risk, every step, every shadow. I survived. And I'm not turning back. Mia's gaze softened, a subtle shift from disbelief to a complex mixture of emotions, astonishment, curiosity, and perhaps even admiration. The night air carried tension thick enough to taste, each heartbeat amplified by the weight of revelation. Suddenly, a distant shout startled both of us. The stranger, the orchestrator of the challenge, emerged from the shadows, clapping slowly. Impressive, they said, voice low but resonant. You've embraced Elena fully. Few have the courage to step beyond fear, to claim who they truly are. My pulse raced, adrenaline surging. Elena's presence surged stronger with every word, every acknowledgement. The test wasn't just surviving public exposure or managing unexpected encounters. It was claiming identity, audacity, and self-confidence in the face of fear. Mia took a cautious step forward, her voice barely above a whisper. Elena, are you sure? This is really you? I met her gaze, unwavering. Every choice, every risk, every heartbeat tonight has been real. I am Elena, and she's not going anywhere. The stranger handed me a small envelope, the final instructions for this night of suspense. Inside was a note. The final challenge awaits. One last choice, return to hiding, or step fully into the world as Elena. The decision is yours. My hands trembled slightly, gripping the envelope as if the weight of the night rested entirely within it. Every muscle in my body hummed with tension, exhilaration, and fear. The choice wasn't just symbolic, it was a defining moment, the culmination of every risk, every transformation, every heartbeat that had brought Elena fully to life. I looked at Mia, then back at the city around us. The streetlights flickered, casting dramatic shadows across the pavement. Each passing car, each distant figure, each sound of the night became part of the test, a reminder that exposure, risk, and audacity were inseparable from Elena's existence. Taking a deep breath, I stepped forward, heels clicking decisively, posture perfect, gaze forward. Elena wasn't hiding. She wasn't hesitating. She existed, fully and unapologetically, in every detail. The dress, the scarf, the gloves, the confidence that radiated from every pore. The stranger nodded, a small smile breaking the tension. Well done. You've claimed her fully. Now, the final judgment awaits. My chest heaved, adrenaline and fear intermingling with an intoxicating thrill. Elena had survived the night, navigated public exposure, confronted Mia, and embraced audacity without faltering. Yet the suspense remained, thick and unrelenting. The final step, full acceptance, ultimate risk, true transformation, was still ahead. I felt Mia's presence beside me, uncertain yet quietly supportive. Her eyes reflected the conflict of emotions I had seen in her before: astonishment, disbelief, curiosity, and, perhaps, begrudging respect. The night hung poised on a precipice, every heartbeat a drumroll leading to the ultimate revelation. And in that tense moment, I knew Elena had crossed the threshold. The persona was no longer a secret, a fantasy, or an experiment. She was real, alive, and audacious. Every risk, every heartbeat, Every shadow faced tonight had forged her into existence. The final choice, the ultimate step, awaited. The city streets stretched ahead, dimly lit and alive with the hum of distant traffic. Every shadow, every flicker of movement, seemed amplified in the tense silence. Elena's heels clicked against the pavement, deliberate and controlled, each step a declaration of audacity. The final instructions from the stranger weighed heavily in my hands, every word echoing in my mind. One last choice: return to hiding or step fully into the world as Elena. The decision is yours. Mia walked beside me, silent, eyes wide with a mixture of curiosity, astonishment, and tentative respect. Her presence was both grounding and intimidating, a reminder that someone close now knew the truth, yet that knowledge also carried judgment, expectation, and possibility. The suspense tightened around us, pressing every nerve to its limit. Ahead, the stranger emerged from the shadows, holding a small platform illuminated by a single overhead lamp. The instructions were clear. Step onto the platform, perform as Elena fully, without hesitation, without faltering. The public, though unseen, would witness the transformation, the ultimate test of audacity, identity, and courage. My chest tightened, heartbeat hammering in my ears. Fear and exhilaration intertwined, each step forward a negotiation between hesitation and defiance. Elena's presence surged from within, a bold, audacious force that demanded recognition. The transformation was no longer physical alone. It had become mental, emotional, and spiritual. She existed fully, and now she would be seen. I approached the platform, heels steady, scarf flowing elegantly, gloves fitted snugly. Each accessory symbolized a layer of identity, every detail a testament to the journey I had endured. I glanced at Mia, who nodded ever so slightly, uncertain but supportive. The subtle acknowledgement gave me the courage to step forward fully. As I reached the platform, the stranger signaled me to begin. Elena moved with poise, every motion deliberate, every gesture confident and audacious. The compact mirror, once a symbol of tentative experimentation, now lay safely tucked in my bag, no longer necessary. Elena had emerged fully, boldly, and unapologetically. Suddenly, movement in the shadows caught my eye, a figure emerging unexpectedly, a potential observer who could expose everything. My pulse skyrocketed, adrenaline surging through every vein. Every muscle tensed, every instinct screamed caution. But hesitation was impossible. Elena had to shine, had to claim her presence in this high-stakes moment. I took a deep, steadying breath, letting Elena guide each motion. A tilt of the head, a graceful sweep of the hand, a confident smile, every gesture a declaration of identity. The shadows seemed to hold their breath, the air thick with suspense, anticipation, and danger. The stranger clapped slowly, approvingly. Beautifully done. But the final moment awaits. One step, one gesture, and the world will know Elena exists. Are you ready? Elena's heart thundered in my chest. Fear, excitement, exhilaration, all collided in a whirlwind of emotion. One misstep could unravel everything. One hesitation could destroy the persona I had fought so hard to claim. Yet every fiber of my being surged forward, audacious, confident, alive. I lifted my chin, extended my arm gracefully, and stepped fully into the spotlight, commanding attention without a word. The city, unseen yet palpably present, seemed to react, every distant murmur, every faint movement a testament to the risk and audacity of the act. Elena existed, fully, boldly, undeniably. Then, an unexpected voice cut through the night, Mia's. Elena, wait. My heart skipped a beat. The tension snapped tighter, the suspense coiling into a near-overwhelming force. Had she discovered something more? Was exposure imminent? Every nerve screamed alert, but Elena held her ground. The heels clicked sharply, scarf fluttered, dress swayed, a perfect display of audacity and composure. The stranger stepped closer, eyes gleaming with approval. Now you see it. This is the culmination of choice, courage, and transformation. One more moment, and Elena will be undeniable. I inhaled sharply, lifting my hands in a delicate, controlled gesture. The spotlight captured every detail, the silk, the gloves, the audacious confidence radiating from Elena's every movement. The suspense stretched taut, unbroken, a living entity pressing on every side. And then, a sudden noise, a door opening somewhere in the distance, a figure approaching rapidly. Heart hammering, I froze, every instinct screaming danger. Elena's presence wavered for just a heartbeat, then surged stronger, undeterred by the potential exposure. Every movement, every step, every gesture had to be perfect. The unknown figure approached closer, and I realized with a jolt that this could change everything. The night, the test, the daring performance, all balanced on this single, terrifying, electrifying moment. Elena's gaze met Mia's for a brief second, a silent acknowledgement, a mixture of fear, exhilaration, and unspoken trust. Then, I faced the approaching figure fully, daring them to see me, daring them to acknowledge Elena. And in that split second, the suspense reached its peak, every heartbeat, every shadow, every flicker of light magnifying the tension. The night held its breath, the city paused, and Elena existed, audacious, alive, and on the cusp of revelation. The approaching figure stopped just at the edge of the spotlight, casting a long shadow across the pavement. My pulse raced uncontrollably, each heartbeat echoing like a drum in the silent night. Elena's heels clicked deliberately, a declaration of audacity, of existence. I met the figure's gaze, trying to mask the fear that surged beneath the surface. Mia stood behind me, uncertain, her eyes wide with tension, disbelief, and curiosity. Every instinct screamed that exposure was imminent. My hands trembled slightly, but Elena's persona remained steady, poised, radiant. Every movement was deliberate, every gesture a challenge to the shadows that threatened to unravel everything. "Who are you?" the figure asked, voice cautious yet laced with authority. I swallowed hard. This was the moment, the instant where every choice I had made, every risk I had taken, hung in the balance. The night, the test, the transformation, all demanded audacity, poise, and courage. Elena rose fully to the challenge, stepping forward boldly, shoulders back, chin lifted. "I am Elena," I said clearly, voice firm, melodic, undeniable. "And tonight, I exist fully. I am no longer hiding." A pause. The figure's gaze lingered, searching, analyzing, and in that moment, every shadow seemed to tighten, every distant sound amplified. Then, the person took a step closer, raising a hand. I froze, unsure of intent. Curiosity? Judgment? Danger? Mia stepped forward cautiously, protective yet uncertain. "Elena, it's okay. This is who she is," she said softly, attempting to shield and support me at once. The figure's eyes narrowed slightly, then softened with an almost imperceptible shift. "I see," they murmured. "So this is real." A mixture of relief and suspense surged through me. Elena had survived the ultimate test, claimed her identity, and faced exposure head-on. Yet the danger, the tension, the unknown remained. The night was still unpredictable, and the figure's next move could change everything. Suddenly, a sharp sound echoed from the distance, a car door slamming, footsteps running, a voice calling out. My breath caught, every nerve screaming alert. Could it be someone else discovering the secret? A neighbor? Or worse, someone from work, someone who could unravel everything I had become? I glanced at Mia, who mirrored my tension, eyes wide with fear and fascination. The night had shifted, unpredictably, the suspense twisting tighter with every second. Elena's audacity surged once more, urging me to hold my posture, maintain confidence, and face the unknown without hesitation. The figure in the shadows took a step forward again, this time holding something in their hand, a small envelope, sealed and mysterious. "This is for you," they said quietly. "One last choice, one final step. Open it when you're ready." But no, it could change everything. My hands shook slightly as I took the envelope, the weight of suspense almost unbearable. Every heartbeat echoed in my ears. The city seemed to hold its breath. Elena's presence radiated audacity, yet beneath it, I could feel the underlying tension, the fear of exposure, the thrill of daring, and the exhilaration of transformation all entwined. I glanced back at Mia. Her gaze was steady, curious, yet cautious. "Whatever it says, we'll face it together," she whispered. I nodded, slowly, deliberately, and stepped aside to open the envelope. Inside was a single card, elegantly embossed, with words that made my stomach twist and my pulse race. "Elena, the next choice is yours alone. Accept fully, and the world will never see you as Alex again. Hesitate, and everything you've built tonight could be undone. Choose wisely." Time seemed to slow. Every sound, every shadow, every heartbeat was magnified. The night, the test, the transformation, all had led to this moment. Elena had survived every risk, every exposure, every challenge, but now the ultimate decision awaited. One choice could define the rest of her existence. I held the card, hands trembling slightly, knowing that the suspense wasn't over. The stranger watched silently, Mia beside me, every breath drawn heavy with anticipation. Elena's presence surged, audacious and unwavering. She had faced fear, danger, and scrutiny, and now it was time to claim the next step, to decide boldly, fully, and irrevocably. And then, from somewhere beyond the streetlights, a distant voice echoed, faint but unmistakable. "Elena, are you ready?" My breath caught. The suspense tightened like a coiled spring, every nerve alert, every instinct screaming the stakes. The city held its silence, the night paused, and the world seemed to wait for my decision. I looked at Mia, then at the envelope, and then into the shadows and realized Elena's story wasn't over. Not tonight, not ever. With a deep, deliberate breath, I lifted the envelope, ready to face whatever the next step demanded. And in that heartbeat, the world held its breath with me. The night was still alive. The suspense was still unbroken. And Elena existed, audacious, bold, and unstoppable.